All over the world, social media has effects on high school students, whether it's on their mental health or their sleep schedule. There are many factors that play into this, including how teens' brains are still developing and how they need their sleep at night, but social media keeps them up and awake. Today I will be speaking with 2 students from MRHS along with 2 guidance counselors and our school psychologist to speak with them on their thoughts and feelings about this important topic. Today I will be speaking with Maggie Powers, a sophomore here at MRHS, and Lizzie Cronin, a freshman here at MRHS, about their thoughts on how social media impacts them personally and how it impacts their sleep schedule as well.
I think social media has both positive and negative effects on me. Sometimes when I'm going on Instagram and TikTok, I see stuff that's really depressing. That kind of puts me in a bad mood, and I would spend way too much time on it. But I also think it's good to stay connected with people, and it's definitely a way to just keep up with your friends and stuff. It definitely keeps me up. I spend a lot of, not a crazy amount, but I spend more time on it than I should, and it's probably not good to do that in bed. Probably messes up my sleep schedule. And that definitely could explain why I'm tired a lot of the times in school, but I just feel I need to check social media.
So social media impacts me personally because it's a really good source of information for sports, for school. It offers lots of online help, like an online library that we have access to, which is really cool. It also helps me stay connected with friends, which I like, and it's kind of like a giant web that keeps us all together, so it's pretty cool. One of the negatives would be when you're interested in something once, it floods your feed with everything relating to that, which can get kind of annoying or can have a bad impact on us. But for the most part, I think social media has a pretty okay impact on me. Yeah. So when it comes to sleeping, social media is definitely a problem because I'll be up scrolling and I won't even realize how long it's been. So it could be I got in my bed at 10 o'clock and I could be scrolling on my phone till 12 and not even recognize it. I think it's because social media itself is just so interesting that it captivates us with certain topics. I could be scrolling through cute dog videos for an hour or watching sports clips, and then it will be 1 a.m. and I won't even notice it. So it definitely doesn't have a good impact on my sleep. So I try to find other things to do before bed, but social media is addictive, so can't really change it.
Since many teens use their phones at night, it can be said that they are most likely on some sort of social media app. Most stay up very late on these apps. According to Sleep Doctor, research shows that many teenagers who use their phones and social media into the nighttime are more likely to wake up earlier, as well as having trouble falling asleep or going back to sleep if they have woken up. Today I will also be talking to Mr. Bennett and Ms. Kennedy, guidance counselors here at MRHS, and about how social media affects them personally and about how it affects teenagers at our school.
I think it's a conversation not just of social media, but also of cell phone use, and I think there's definitely a correlation to that. In my high school times as a counselor, I've definitely seen how social media and cell phones can have a negative impact on students, whether they're not getting enough sleep because they're scrolling at nighttime, in terms of bullying, peer pressure, body image issues. So I definitely think that that has a negative impact for students. I also think that it's a distraction thing for students as well. I think also with just internet in general, back in my day, in the olden days, we didn't have cell phones in schools, and so we had to wait until we could talk to our parents. We had to wait until we could talk to our friends. We had to call from a landline phone, and it's just a different world that people are growing up in now. And so I think that it's a great way to be able to stay in communication. I certainly use it to kind of track my own children and whatnot, but I just think that there's just got to be a fine line of balance and knowing when to turn off the screens, turn off the social media. When you need to take a break from social media, you know, a little social media detox might not be a bad thing. If every student maybe gave themselves a week without any social media and then kind of see how they feel about it, you know, did they sleep better? Did their mental health feel better? Did they maybe not fight with their friends as much? I think that, you know, it's here and it's not going away, but there's definitely a lot of education that both adults and students need to do in terms of learning how it is going to impact us both healthily and negatively. I think that social media, there's definitely some benefits to it, but I do think right now that it is maybe doing more harm than good for certain age brackets, particularly teenagers. I think that it's really important for parents to be involved in their child's social media accounts and see what they have access to. Unfortunately, I've seen situations where there's online bullying, there's just some not so nice stuff that happens on social media. Students are exposed to more things than they normally would be, you know, back from my generation. I think that especially, you know, for females too, that on social media, if you're, you know, seeing groups of friends hang out together and you weren't included, or in terms of body image things, it's just a challenging time right now, and just really important to know when to limit your social media access.
Technology, I think, is a real double-edged sword, especially the use of cell phones. I think there's a real benefit to having them as in an adolescent's life, and I think they can be a real burden. I think the good part about it is all the social networking that can happen and all the positive use and gain that you can get from the use of that. But the negative often is, in my office, upfront and personal as far as bullying goes and things that kids say to each other through social media. That is certainly just not something we want coming out of teenagers' mouths to and from one another. One of the biggest differences I've seen, and I was at this job for maybe, I don't know, 10 years or so before social media really came to be prevalent. And the one thing I notice is that there's a lot more bullying and drama, whatever you want to use for terminology, among my students, much more so than before the advent of cell phones and all of these social media sites. I think it has really shifted things for kids in the sense that a lot of what is said that's offensive is often said online or behind a camera, where it's much more difficult to have conversations, frank conversations in person. I think a lot of times people hide behind the lens and can be very cruel when they're not face-to-face with the person they're communicating with.
Dr. Linda Mays of Yale Medicine states that the use of social media today is similar to how life was when televisions became popular. This explains how the use of technology and social media can be addicting to the human mind just like TV is. Although social media has a negative impact on many teenagers, it also has a positive impact on them as well. According to Yale Medicine, 58% of teenagers feel more accepted by others after using social media, and 71% say that they feel more connected to their friends. Many people also use social media to make new friends and connect with others with the same interests as them. I will also be talking to Miss Fonts, our school psychologist, on how she believes social media affects teenagers and how it affects her and how she thinks it affects the mind as well.
I think there's a lot of positives to social media, but I really do think that the negatives outweigh the positives in most cases. So social media can affect the mind and the brain in a multitude of ways. I think especially adolescents and teenagers, it affects it in a very specific way. There's kind of this perfect storm that's happening where in adolescence, your reward center in your brain is firing at a higher rate. And then also in adolescence, you are more sensitive to the social critique of others. You care more about how other people think of you. So those two things combined, I think, makes it teenagers really vulnerable to social media, wanting to be on social media, wanting to scroll to get that kind of reward center firing. I think that it can impact you in so many different ways. One of which that I always think of is you're spending more time on this social media than making connections with people around you. It's really important to feel a sense of belonging for your mental well-being. So when you're doing this, you're not making those connections, so you're losing those opportunities for belonging. Another another way that I think it really impacts you is when, this scrolling even at night can really impact your sleep. You're overstimulating your brain. Maybe you're even emotionally stimulated by what you're consuming on social media. So that can really impact sleep, which is so important, especially for adolescents and your development. It can really impact your mental wellness, increases the likelihood of mental illness, and obviously all the academic stuff that comes along with that can really be impacted by sleep.
Social media has many effects on teenagers and adults, whether they are positive or negative. After speaking with these people from our school, I have learned how much social media and technology affects them and those around them as well.